Well, you might feel like you're always in a state of performance ready, but does your voice? Being performance ready just doesn't mean you'll jump up on a stage and belt out a tune at any time. Being performance ready means that you're always connected with your voice, that your voice and you are one, that you're able to access your instrument. And I like that word connect because that's truly what we're doing when we warm up our voice. Now, most people think of a warm-up as a chore, that it's something that we go through, maybe some lip trills, and some arpeggios, put in our 15 to 20 minutes, and it's kind of like we're done with our chore, and now I get to go play. And I really want to dissuade you out of thinking that way, because not only are the exercises ambiguous to your body, but they're also not going to do a thing to warm you up if you're not thinking of them as tools, if you don't have a directive to give those exercises. So really, I don't think of myself as warming up when I'm first starting to sing. I always think of it as reconnecting with my voice. And I hope you do too. When I first start singing or utter a tone in the beginning of my day, my voice is definitely not in the shape that I would like to present it in a performance. And so there's a little transition that needs to occur so that I'm asking for very detailed and nuanced things, that I have these things available when I go to sing. Typically, in my early performing days, I would think of the warm-up as something I was to do without getting paid. So I would just jump on stage. I was going to sing a long time that night, so I would just use the first 4 or 5 songs as a warm-up. And here's why that's not a good idea. Your body doesn't know that there's no audience or that there is an audience. All it knows is what's coming raining down as your intention from your brain. And so even though I was singing 4 or 5 easy songs in the beginning of a set, I was still asking for a performance aesthetic before my body was necessarily ready to deliver that. The ease of muscle movement, the coordination of breath to the vocal folds, what the condition was with my voice. I didn't assess it before I got on stage, so now I'm assessing it as I'm singing these songs. And so if there's any notes that feel a little stubborn or that I need to apply more energy than I typically do, I can't address that in an exercise if I'm on stage. If I'm in a performance, I have to go with what's going to sound best. So I ended up using more effort necessary just to make sure those songs were presentable. And you know what? The first 5 songs of a performance are really what dictate the quality of your voice for the last 5 songs of a performance. The swelling that I created by forcing my voice into performance aesthetic too early, before I was ready or lubricated, if you will, the force that I applied to those on those first 5 songs caused swelling. And that swelling takes a while for it to ensue, for it to affect your vocal folds. So unbeknownst to me, I was triggering that at the beginning of my set. So I thought I sounded all right, but they were easy songs. And then I would make sure I sort of coordinated my performance so the more difficult stuff would come in the second hour of singing. We're all guilty of this as performing singers. And so so in other words, then I would always blame the end of the night or the last songs as to why my voice was fatiguing. But it turns out that it was really the first songs that created that. Where I discovered this is when I started playing more original stuff, and you end up doing shorter sets, opening sets, things like that for your performances, and those first songs count. If you were to sing a single song for a TV show, let's say, you're going to sing that song for 1 million people, and you only have that 3 minutes to create a voice. So it's always going to be a reverse formula here. The length of your performance and the length of your warm-up is counterintuitive. For a long performance, I recommend a short warm-up, but just that you check in, that you assess your voice for things like pitch accuracy, ease of creating an even resonance, for volume or dynamic changes, and for timing. If there's any delays in the onset of a pitch, or if you feel like you need to sustain a note in order to tune it or fix it, those things are going to haunt you in a song, and you're going to end up using more force than necessary. And for very short performances, for just singing single songs, I recommend a very long, thorough warm-up. Now the warm-up, like I said, is really a reconnection. And so if I'm performing just one song, I'm going to make sure that I have every little detail in my that I expect out of my singing ready and present. I find exercises a much better gauge or a much better tool to use to assess these things, because there isn't an emotional value and there isn't an aesthetic that I need to place on it. When an audience isn't nearby, I'm allowed to let a note fail if I'm trying to create some comfort. So if I ask for comfort first, and I find myself squeezing out that note, I may get away with that on stage, but it's still causing friction down here in my larynx. So I'm not going to allow that during my reconnection with my voice. I'm going to ask for comfort first. And if that's the reaction I get, it's like, uh-oh, I may need longer than 15 minutes to get that together so that I can ask with comfort for those areas of my voice that are most coordinated to be in control. So think of the warm-up as a reconnection with your voice, and your condition, your vocal condition, your health changes a little bit every day. So it's kind of arrogant to assume you're going to be exactly the same day in, day out. Some people have a little easier connection with their voice to begin with. They don't have a lot of fussiness with their singing, so they tend to be reconnected with their voice very quickly. Doesn't take very long. So I'm not an advocate of you need 20 minutes or it has to be 5 or it has to be 30. You just have to have comfort and control. And when you arrive at comfort and control, you're reconnected. You're ready to sing. If you haven't arrived at that, I don't recommend stepping on stage. So you can't force, let's say you need an hour one day. Things are in fairly bad condition. It's going to take you easily an hour of picking away at various areas of your voice. You can't force an hour into 20 minutes. So I make sure that I'm performance ready way before a performance. And that way I know if I'm in good shape, I can rest assured, I can sort of take a break from warming up, do my other chores, and I'll check in with my voice in various moments if I'm sort of 6 hours ahead of time. But I make sure I leave myself plenty of wiggle room there. So to be performance ready, I want you to wake up your voice and reconnect with it as early as possible in the day, in case there's issues you'll need to deal with. Remember that, and you'll always be performance ready.